But it's like you said, we are probably the only profession that first sells and then executes and then in the end starts to plan.
Why was and is 3DNA so important for SmileCloud to be an next step?
It gives you clarity and a supervision and a way to align this vision with all the others, and a fluid way to interact with other technologies and other softwares.
We talked about your lab, that you had such a big lab in your practice. How did your lab technician look at this?
The best of the best technicians, of course, they were not happy to see a machine mill a tooth form that was like always different and many times better.
Welcome to ProTalk, welcome to the Pulse of Dentistry, welcome to this episode that, we are welcoming you from Portugal, from the International Aesthetic Days in Vilamoura, which for us is a very special event, centering around actually excellence in aesthetic dentistry. And for this topic today, I'm very happy that I can welcome two very special guests, Dr. Erik van Dooren and Dr. Florin Cofar. Welcome, Erik.
Thank you.
Welcome, Florin. It's a great pleasure to have you today. Very much looking forward to our conversation. And today, what you will learn and what we will dive into is all about aesthetic dentistry, mastering aesthetic dentistry, the philosophy it takes. It will be a lot about collaboration, probably about vision, about art, and about precision, and how to approach aesthetic dentistry with a master's mind and really creating excellence for the patient. So thanks for being with us today. It's my pleasure, Erik and Florin. And the first question we always start with is, Erik, maybe we start with you. Who is Erik van Dooren in 1 minute? I know this is very difficult in 1 minute, but who is Erik van Dooren?
Erik van Dooren is a dentist from Belgium, Antwerp, semi-retired, although Florin says I'm not semi-retired.
It's not true. It's semi-retired since I know.
Enjoying still the job like I did before. That is crucial and important. And traveling a lot, lecturing still a lot, and enjoying the new technologies and new ways of looking at dentistry, besides enjoying my family and my friends.
Okay.
That's it.
Good. Yeah, thank you, Erik. Florin?
Well, to make a parallel with Erik, I'm Florin, dentist from Timișoara, Romania. Also involved in technology, as some of you might know, and trying to balance life also with, family and all the activities that we currently have, trying to make, ends meet and enjoying a lot. I have to say that, and I think we are very fortunate to be doing the kind of things and to be privileged to, to travel, to have this type of experience. It's a good life.
Yes. And passion is a big part of it. I realize for both of you, the passion for what you do and enjoying it. Now we speak here, Aesthetic Days 2025, but let's dive a little bit into your journey quickly. Erik, what is your background and what was, let's say, the most 3 important steps or moments or people that have influenced the Erik van Dooren we see today?
I think my journey started, I graduated in 1982, as you know, in Katholieke Universiteit Leuven, as a general dentist, basically. Not at all interested in dentistry, I have to say.
Okay.
So I was playing more football and tennis than being a dentist. But the last year, one of my professors sent me, because I was giving him tennis lessons, basically. I was playing in university team in Leuven of tennis, so he saw it and he told me, why don't you give me some tennis lessons? So I did, and he said, well, you know what, for your last 6 months, I'm going to send you to a guy in Brussels who is in a very shabby office, but he's unbelievable because he's doing both soft tissue implants and prosthetics. But I didn't understand exactly what it meant. So I had my training for my last 6 months in his office, and that opened my eyes for sure. Then we started an office, or I started an office in Brussels, where I got interested in mainly soft tissue surgery, combining pros and soft tissue surgery, because I was thinking that in many of the cases it's very nice to be able to use or to change things that you cannot just change with the white part, with the teeth part. And then I basically went to a lot of courses, and I met one guy in Dallas, Texas, Pat Allen. And basically he was my teacher since, or still is my God, and since 30 years already. So there I learned a lot. And then 12 years ago, I met the second God, Florin Cofar. No, it's true, because you just, I didn't enjoy, it's always like cyclic. You learn about new things, then you are getting used to it, and then you need something else to be motivated and to get involved again in the things that you like. And then I met Florin. I don't know, I met you in my house in Brazil, no, the first time. You were full of red dots because you slept on the beach with a lot of mosquitoes around you.
Met in an Indian reservation in Brazil.
Yeah, you went to an Indian reserve next to close to my house. So that's where I met him. And then already then I thought it's like sometimes you meet people and you feel the energy is different. So I felt, just after a few hours, I felt he was a little bit different than all the others. Already he was talking then about digital, and I didn't understand. And that's when I got...
Was it in a dentistry context, like in a course, or was it just like pure incidents?
Pure luck, let's say.
Okay, wow, okay. So Pat Allen made a big impact on you, and
Very big
like
impact.
on many others. And I think, Eric, today I can say it. You would never say it about yourself. I know it. You made a big impact on many other people as well. So I think that's a beautiful development.
I think it's just a question of being able to give. Not only take, or in anything you want to do, no?
Yeah, absolutely, and to share.
So that's...
How was it for you, Florin? Your journey? What would have been the major?
Well, similar to Papa. I call Eric Papa for a long time, but similar. When I finished school, I basically got the license, the diploma. Okay, it's just inertia. At that time, I had not a real direction. It's just I think especially I think if I look at my kids, also boys have a delay, I think, a little bit. Sometimes when the time comes, you're not ready to take a decision, then both parents dentists, so I go to dental school. And it was after I finished dental school that I really found calling, okay? But then I worked just explorative generic for maybe a year and something. Then I wanted to integrate in the team. And then, you know, my father was a surgeon, all of that, and everybody was advising me, hey, you have to go for this and do that. And I remember I asked myself, okay, what is this team weakest point? What nobody wants to do, you know? And it was endo at that time. This is why I started with endo, because, you know, it was the fastest way for me to get, you know, a foothold there and to help all the others. So make myself, let's say, useful. But then endo didn't really fit my character, because I get bored easy. So there's few things that can be more boring than endo at a certain point once you have the protocol in check. So then I went on a path again to meet people, and I was lucky that I had some consecutive, you know, people that I learned from each a little bit. I remember the first I saw Mauro, then Galip, and Nitzan, then Christian Coachman, and then I was lucky to meet Papa over here, which again, I think it's always different when you know, there's people that you learn from, and there's people that you want to become. This is a very big difference, and I think it's, you know, that's at the end of the day, if you talk about relevant moments, this is one of those relevant moments, because then you get a different kind of drive. Yeah, there's the normal things, and then there's, okay, I have a goal which is much further away. And then also important for me was, and still is today, and I still credit a lot to him, Paolo Cano, who is for me one of the most amazing people we have in this profession. And Yeah, and at a certain point, I gave myself the freedom to start to create and to innovate, because at a certain, I mean, you learn, and at a certain point, it's just a click when you can say, okay, I can maybe have the confidence enough to just use what I learned and to try to improve certain things, and that's how things evolve.
Well, it was a good journey, and I think interesting that you moved out of endo, because if I look what you do today, it's I think we can be very fortunate that you unlocked your full potential in the very complex cases that you guys are doing, which I believe are difficult but also very rewarding. Speaking about balance a bit, so both of you are clinicians, run your own practice, collaborate a lot on cases, you educate, you teach a lot, spend time mentoring people. Florin, you are an entrepreneur with SmileCloud. Both of you have a family. How do you keep balance? I mean, I imagine that's not always easy.
No, it's a very difficult balance, probably. It's the most difficult balance to keep and your family happy and your office happy and yourself happy, basically. I was very fortunate to have in the office, which I closed now, colleagues that stayed for 20, 25 years that took over. When I was traveling, they took over. So that's exactly what you need. You need stability both in your professional environment and your family environment. And I'm very fortunate again to have a wife that understood that I was ambitious probably, and that I wanted to travel, and it probably goes together with a little bit of, let me turn it differently. Today I have more time for my grandchildren than I had for my children. And that's maybe the only thing that I regret. That I didn't take the time, because in the weekend traveling, then back home, start to work, come home late it's really a difficult balance. Really, even already as a dentist, simply working in the office is difficult. So then if you travel and you work and you have the family, it's different level of balance. Yeah.
How about you, Florin?
I think my balance is my wife.
Yes, exactly. Yes, most
it's
of
like,
the time.
It's. I think it's important that she was always like supportive, but at the same time, when I go too much into, hey, I did this and did that and da, at a certain point, after like 2 minutes, she cuts it like this and say, hey, enough. Now here you.
It's only dentistry.
Father, the husband, I don't care about all your stuff. And this is healthy, okay? Because otherwise we go too much in one direction. And I think, again, like Eric, I am fortunate to have a partner like this.
I think our two wives, they know each other, and they are very similar from a completely different age. But they're both the same, and I think if they are not supportive, you forget about.
No, it's impossible to work if you don't have this,
rock. Yeah, there's always a strong person in the background. Yes, yeah, that makes sense. I believe what's connecting you, it's a bit my observation, is the philosophy and the way you look at dentistry. Would you agree? I mean, when you met the first time in Brazil in the house, or what connected you in the first instance?
You can.
You go first.
No, you do. No problem.
Now you're gonna steal my answer.
I think what connected us is the drive for perfection, basically.
Yeah, the OCD.
Huh? Florin always says to me that I have OCD in a very high degree.
No.
Obsessive compulsive.
No, it's obsessive care for details.
Yes. Probably. Yeah.
We both are perfectionists, and we always take everything very constructive. No? And we both like to learn.
Yes.
This and here you get much more credit because you have done it for much longer than I did, and then it's also a matter of shared vision. The fact that we believe that simple things like, hey, before you start doing something, you need to be able to visualize the final outcome before you do the first cut. And here we are very much aligned. And even before we had all of this technology and all of that, when I went to his office in Belgium, like half of the building there was a lab. Okay, and that's what you don't expect. I mean, you knowing Eric, like from the outside, you see, famous surgeon and all of that, and then the emphasis on the lab was so strong back then. And I remember, asking the technicians to simulate the with wax, the grafts, and all of these things, which are the same things that we eventually are doing today with different tech.
Yeah, when we were lecturing today together, I was thinking about this, like 25 years ago, 30 years ago. We had these famous technicians, they came and we were asking them, like you say, to simulate things in wax, which is craftsmanship. But what Florin did, and he brought it to next level, which is digitalize all of these things, which makes everything much more easy for any dentist now. Because what I had, the setup that we had in Antwerp was, today would be irrealistic, because we were flying him Brazilian technicians for 2 weeks, working day and night, Saturday, Sunday, having very beautiful cases ready. But there was like an analog philosophy that is translated now into digital, which makes me very happy, because I see many things that we did already a long time ago, just in a different way they appear now. And in a very efficient and productive way they appear now.
So it's this obsession for perfection and detail and precision that you share, and the mindset of starting with the end in mind.
Yes.
I think, where do you complement each other?
In many ways. So first, I think first of all, Eric always has the experience, the wisdom. These are the things where he's always going to be, the better half. And I guess but I wouldn't say that only. I mean, I have a little bit of creativity. He has a lot also. So I'm not sure what I'm really adding, but I know what I get from him. I'm not sure if I'm adding too much, but
maybe we ask Eric.
I know what I get.
No, I think you just your vision on things and your strength to analyze things in a different way, but especially your vision. And the way you push your vision through.
Okay.
No matter what happens next to you. And that's a huge strength. It's a huge plus, I would say.
From knowing you now a couple of years, I would underline this. I mean, you see things happening long time before they happen.
Yes,
and then you make them happen. Exactly.
I think this is simple.
So your philosophy, if you approach a case, what are the core principles for you, or the non-negotiables, where you say, look, this is really, if we approach a case, this is non-negotiable, and this is a core of our philosophy?
To get all the initial information, all the data. And then from the data, try to plan something without even touching the patient. So to visualize anything you want to do with the patient. And basically what we see is that 80-90% will be decided upon at the start already. So we take a lot of time to document, a lot of time to analyze, a lot of time to treatment plan. And in the end of the day, 80% will be like this. And then you have variables that you don't always know from the start.
But then the execution is like...
Yes.
Swiss is a big word, but you understand what I mean. It's
precise, that's flawless and precise, and because you prepared so well.
Because you are prepared, that's the thing.
But it's like you said, we are probably the only profession that first sells and then executes and then in the end starts to plan. And that's why there's so many failures, and that's why all the technicians are getting, like, in Belgium we don't have anymore, because they're like...
They are firemen.
Yeah, they are firemen for anything.
I remember, Florin, you once compared it, when we talked, you compared it to architecture. It's a bit the same, right? The way you approach it, you first build the house, or you create a vision of the house, and then then you start building it, and not the other way around. Huh?
Yeah, and let me make a simple comparison. We advocate a lot this idea of having one design, which is the same like for a house. But this is not just something that needs to stay abstract. Imagine, that the architect creates this design. but then keeps it on the computer at his house and nobody can reach him. And construction happens in that time. How will that work? You know? So what we want is, first of all, that the plan exists and that the plan is layered, is connected, because we don't want like one plan for this, one plan for that, one plan for that, and at the end we play fireman to put it together. We want one plan and a framework that this is accessible, and it's a parallel reference to the actual patient, because you see, this is the lane where you see the patient. Imagine a long treatment, 2 years. Every time you see the patient, what we will see? A changing situation all the time. So how can I manage a changing situation without improvising if I don't have a go-to reference? So what is important for us is to always spend time on that reference, on, you know, what is the design? Okay, we create a common definition of success. And then, you know, as we go, whenever we have any doubt or any iteration or fine tuning, because there will be, you have always the go-to. Because if you just keep the patient's mouth as the reference, you're just looking at the waves. They're going like this. That's the problem.
One observation that I also have is that what is very unique about your approach is the collaboration that you have with, let's say, all the specialists, dental technicians around you. I feel this is somewhat much more intense than what I usually observe. How do you approach collaboration, and how many people do you involve in cases like this? Because as an architect, you could build the vision of the future house just yourself, but you don't, right?
I mean, conceptually, it's just, I think, the more you involve, the better potentially you can get. But the thing is, very important to understand what we do to change a little bit the way the game works is we never just discuss, okay? What we always start from a draft, which is usually, it was in the past 2D, now it's 3-dimensional. And you have a conversation over something which is, you know, palpable. It's visual, it's spatial, everybody can see, and we make sure everybody understands the same thing. Because if we're doing it without that, what happens is we are going to create parallel different images within our minds. Okay? And then we will collaborate by expectation, not by reality. Because in my mind, there's an expectation of what he does, and he has an expectation of what I will do. And it's really important to align this before everything starts. So I think at the end of the day, we just make sure that we always work on a draft, okay? Very simple. We have technicians for this. A technician will create a design in the beginning which is agnostic of specialty. Because that's another thing. We are biased. We are biased in how we plan. I will push towards prosto, the ortho will push towards ortho, so on. So just, okay, what is ideal here? You start there. And then basically it's almost like making a gap analysis between what is ideal and what you have. And based on that, then you realize, okay, that gap analysis tells you you need this skill set. And then you ask yourself, do I have the skill set? Yes, fine, I do. No, then, okay, I know what skill set I need. And then you ask. I mean, it's...
But besides that, it's also nice to see that there's a group of people, and this grew really organically, that enjoyed to go to Timișoara as a reference place to go, not only because of the quality of the work, but also because of documentation, many other things. So from all over the world, many people go and just spend time there. Like I could see here in your on your congress, while at Gustavo Giordani, there's Victor Clavijo, there's Juan Arias, there's Benjamin Cortas, there's maybe 15 names, and all very, very, but what is important is that we all have the same, let's say, professional values. We value also the quality of the work, but also the friendship. And that I think is essential, to respect each other and value the friendship between the group. And they're all high level, all. Yeah. They just go and they have to. I will tell you, they pay their own ticket, and we don't get paid there. I mean, so
no, you do it for progress,
to see new things. And there's always, let's say, if I go every 4 months or 6 months, always something changed. And if nothing changes anymore, I will stop.
Yeah, that's not the problem because
It will not happen
and
so
the
soon.
thing is the same for me. If I get bored, then it's game over. So it's
Yes,
impossible
exactly.
to.
So I like the way you also described this, Florin, that you start actually with a prototype, because I think it's also in our world it's the same. It's a very efficient way to work, and you make progress fast, and everybody sees the same, and then you discuss. In these discussions, how important is disagreement and creative tension, or how often does it happen, and how do you solve it?
Often, of course, it will happen. But the thing is, usually, again, you have to make it palpable. Okay, I'll give you an example. Okay, if I imagine I talk to the orthodontist, and we have a disagreement on an ortho topic, who will be right by default? The specialist, the orthodontist, right?
Yeah.
There's no way my opinion can outweigh his opinion. But then, the way to ask the question is, normally you go to the orthodontist only with a problem. And I think you should go with the problem and with the draft of the solution. And only ask the question, not what would you do here, but ask the question, is this possible? Or can you do this or not? Propose an alternative, and everything has to be practical. If you say no, okay, fine, but then you give me an option, and then we check your option. The only thing that I cannot work with is lack of commitment to a certain solution. I cannot live with, okay, we'll see what happens. This for me is anxiety. I don't know for you. But I cannot just start something not knowing of,
And sometimes people also think that if we discuss cases, for example, that it should take half an hour of Teams or 1 hour discussing. No, it's sometimes like 5 minutes, but just to determine the way to go, keeping the final goal in your mind. It doesn't need to be very long discussions. Just pragmatically.
In time you align more, and what happens is you gain a common denominator in the critical eye. So in the beginning you look at the same thing, you see different dots, and as you go and as you do this exercise often, you put the same picture and instantly both can see the same problem, and then discussion is directly, there we have a problem.
So imagine I'm a young clinician, and want to build maybe a prosthodontic practice. Moving forward, what would be your recommendation to me how to build a strong team? What do I need to watch out for?
To build a strong team?
Around me?
No. A team you deserve in the end, first of all. So it's not a thing that will come by itself. So if you want to deserve, probably the quality of what you're doing should be high. And you should be ready to learn a lot, travel to learn, go to different offices. And I think the most important thing is you said it this morning, I remember. You said that you should be ready to fail also, because from the failures, that's where you will learn most. I mean, you will fail and you will have a problem and you will not make the same mistake probably the second time. But the team, you will just deserve the people around you according to what you deliver and according to your philosophy, and probably also according to your character or your charisma or whatever.
Yeah, mostly you meet like-minded people then, right? It's what happened also in your case. That's a bit my observation.
I think, again, you probably said it, the most important things, and very nice. I will try to add something pragmatic to it, okay? Just pragmatic in the sense that if I think about the young ones, what is healthy to start? Imagine you want to get young people, but there will be a gap of level. That's what you need to manage, okay? They're young and your level is probably a bit higher, and how do you bridge the gap? And how do you keep it working, and how do you scale that? So I think one of the things that we, again, enforce is documentation. For example, if this is one of the things that is non-negotiable, because with documentation, you instill a culture that has discipline. Documentation requires discipline. very important quality. Then it's also openness and vulnerability, because you need to document everything regardless if it's good or bad. And then it also transparency. So everybody has to put everything on the table, and this is like a healthy ground for, moving forward. So I believe this is one of the keys. And then only after, basically in our universe, only after this is checked, then you get to touch a patient. And even if you, it can be whoever, doesn't matter, but it's just the young ones have to master this. And at the beginning, they probably will just assist somebody that's doing things. When this is done, then you can start to do things, because then the framework is built in a way that we can control, see. Like Papa told me one time, he said, hey, we were discussing about the case, and he called me like 5 times about something, and then, I got irritated and said, wait, hey, Papa, trust me, you told me, I will do it. And then Eric said, yeah, I trust, but I want to see. So it's the same with me. Yeah, I trust you, but I want to see.
I feel it's also a good moment to speak about SmileCloud, because I think SmileCloud is facilitating a lot of what you just discussed. What I would be interested in, Florin, you're a very visionary person. The day that you decided to do SmileCloud, what was it that you wanted to bring to the world in the first place? I mean, what was your first idea about SmileCloud?
Well, that will be a philosophical answer, I can tell you. It's I have to warn. No, it's jokes aside. So I realized I had many angles from which I saw it. Not many, but a couple. So a couple was I saw an opportunity. An opportunity in the sense that I could see the lack of basic tools that we were needing, like, the ability to just put your data in a nice way. It didn't exist back then. We're talking 2016. And it was like, I was just starting with digital, and I realized I always think in scale. For me, to validate something is something you are able to scale. If it just works for one person, it's not really, it's okay, but it's not what I focus on. And I realized the first thing that you have all these broken pieces, and we need to connect them somehow. So that was the opportunity part, and that started, let's say, the base layer of SmileCloud with the workspace that it is today. But the other layer, the other part of the name, the biometrics, is where I really believe that the legacy part, I really think there's a business and there's a legacy, okay, which is more than the business. And the legacy is, we've been always doing restorative dentistry for 100 years, or I don't know how long. Doesn't matter in what sense, that we always restore smiles based on genetic information. Imagine there's a tooth missing. We go to school, we learn how a tooth should look like, and we replicate out of imagination most of the time, and which tends to be repetitive, limited, and and difficult, because we know that only a fraction of the people can do it properly. So then I realized, hey, design is everywhere. The first thing that a scanner can do is actually capture something, but we are using all our scanners to capture only the problems. If you take the same scanner and capture, the beautiful part that is there, like design, we potentially, and this is again a work in progress, we can really shift restorative to its true meaning. Think a bit architecture. What is restorative? Restorative is not to take an old building and to put, glass windows like new ones. It's to restore what was. So what I really, the legacy which I start with, and then of course you see that how it went in very different ways, because there's strategy and tactics, which you know very well. But the idea was to really enable that the next generation, the one that will come after us, will be able to do restorative in a completely different way, to restore what was. Imagine your child is is 18, perfect, everything. Imagine how valuable that information is if you just take the data sets that we have today when we talk about virtual patient, all of that. Imagine how specific, how unique, how individual. For me, that's worth more than all the restorative materials you would use in that treatment. So this is a process way beyond SmileCloud, and because the change in culture. We are only in stage 1 of the process. Right now, we enable people to really play with the tools, okay? That's stage 1. Stage 1 is, hey, we show it's possible to copy anything. But in stage 1, we're like Robin Hood design. We take from the lucky ones and we shift it where we don't have nice anatomy. But stage 2 is that this becomes a culture. And if we talk about prevention, for example, which is a big topic, like, for example, in Switzerland, all of that, for me, this is as important as all the other things in prevention. Just, hey, you have a unique opportunity to take this data and to really harness it. No?
Right, exactly. Yeah.
So there's the business and there's the legacy. The legacy is always more important than the business for me. And that was the vision initially, which is still a long way to go, but it's never changed. The vision has always been the same.
It's a long way to go because you still have a lot of ideas and visions, but I think what is in place already is, I mean, it changed the game significantly, right? I mean, Erik, I wonder, we talked about your lab, that you had such a big lab in your practice. How did your lab technician look at this? Because he used to do this all, by craftsmanship. Yes. And it worked. It was much more cumbersome, but was he happy about this? How did he adopt? And
I think for everything you have an adaptation period. No, the best of the best technicians, of course, they were not happy to see a machine mill a tooth form that was like always different and many times better. But it's always the same thing. They probably are able to layer porcelain in a way that is unbelievable and which is always optically still better than. But it's just a question of time before all these digital technologies catch up with the reality of the best technicians in the world. And there was friction, of course, in the beginning, and many of these it takes them like 1-2 years to adapt to it. But ultimately, that's the way where it's going, because there is no way around. I cannot, for example, if you place 4 beautiful veneers and one of the veneers has chipping or breaks, are you going to fly in the same technician for this? So we need to have something that is, let's say, reproducible in a very acceptable way, let's say. We can give up on some optical properties or getting just a little bit less of optical nice feeling of the material, but we, on the other side, we are much better in, like Florin said, to fitting something into the let's say the gingiva and the smile and the face of the patient, and in a different way.
It's again a matter of scalability.
Yeah,
because in terms of potential, again, the artist hand is still the artist hand. It's unbeatable as a potential, but you have to be pragmatic and understand what is the scale factor in your reality. Because if there is no scale factor, then it's...
The artist hand is niche.
Yes, exactly. Yes.
But niche for me is 5% of all the patients.
Yeah. What comes a bit to my mind is the quote from Jensen Huang, the CEO from NVIDIA, that says, look, it's not about AI or the human, but it's, what the human can do with the AI if you empower. And I think it's here the same, if you have a strong technician, it's not about the technician or the digital. It's about what a strong technician can do with the digital and what it enables him to do, right? I think.
I think the best technicians, they have the feeling deep inside of them that we devaluate their work. That the artistic part is going to go. That's what's happening. No, you agree, Florin?
Yeah, I think I find a parallel, always between analog photography and digital photography, because the same process happened when we switched from film to digital camera. And again, if you just glimpse back to those times, it was the same thing, that the art will die and but the thing is, art never dies. Art will just reincarnate in different forms, in different ways. It's at the end, art is just shuffling the tools by which art becomes art, and the artist is always going to be the artist. It's just I guess the normal cycle of fear and
fear,
courage
exactly.
in transitions, which are normal. That's the one constant we have in our life and in reality, that there's always going to be change, even when it's comfortable.
It's just difficult sometimes to digest it.
Yeah.
No?
Yeah.
And some characters, they will digest and adapt very fast, and others will never and always complain. That's
a fact of life.
The world looks like.
And everybody can go with its own speed, I think. And it's a good comparison with the digital photography. I mean, today you can take tons of pictures very easily, fast, but that doesn't mean it's really an art, It's
still an artist will be an artist.
Today you do a lot of mediocre pictures, right, that you see around. 3DNA, there was a big launch this year, we're in the middle of it, I would say, and it made a huge fuss. I remember the day that this went viral. I haven't seen something like this for many years, so it made a big impact. Why was and is 3DNA so important for SmileCloud to be a next step?
Well, it's just, I think, it's just a normal evolution of smile design, so to speak. But it's just what 3DNA brings is a supervision for the people working, because what is really important, I think, and let me try to simplify it and not go technical, because the concept is important. Nothing is difficult when you have clarity, okay? And the clarity is something that you need to have before you execute anything. And 3DNA, with all the bells and whistles and all the things that you could potentially do, what it really gives you, it gives you clarity and a supervision and a way to align this vision with all the others, and a fluid way to interact with other technologies and other softwares. And I think this is almost like it's mandatory, I would say, for a next big step in enabling, I would say, the next generation of workflows. What 3DNA does, in one sentence, it allows you to have that one design, like of the house. It gives you that canvas, which is the umbrella of many other things, and keeps it all in one. And not only that, but people can interact in that, can iterate, can review, can visualize. It has a patient-facing side where you can, at any point, render to the patient in a meaningful way for the patient. Imagine with a smile, moving, and all of that. So I think it does add. It's funny because 3DNA somehow, once you start using it, it's a need you never knew you had. But after you try it, it's almost impossible to go back.
To live without it.
It's like, this is what I heard many times this couple of days. I don't remember how I did before.
It's true.
And I think that's true for SmileCloud in general. I hear this comment very often, because it's, it has so many layers of benefit, the common data sharing, you can talk to each other, you can collaborate,
it starts
the design
with
it creates.
Start with simple things, and then you can get more sophisticated by time.
No, exactly. I mean, I have to say what you did. I mean, I'm first and foremost probably a patient, and I think what you really did also is to change the way patients are engaged. Because for a patient, it's very hard to envision what a clinician will do with my oral situation. It's almost impossible. So I'm actually, it needs a lot of trust for a patient to trust a clinician that there will be a good final outcome, because you have no idea how this looks like. And I think this is where you really manage to take the patient with you on the journey from day one. I think that's, for the patient, it's super powerful. I think that's a very strong part. Erik, I would like to talk a bit about mentoring.
Okay.
Because, I mean, I can tell you I get a lot of feedbacks that you've been a very important mentor to many people that are now. Just yesterday I spoke to Vincent and many others. in your view, what makes a great mentor?
Probably to be able to explain difficult things in a simple way and make things look simple without being ridiculous. That's also probably the way you can handle people, and showing, besides interest in dentistry, also interest in the human being, or the I don't know how I have to explain it. It's just something that grows organically. I think it's not something you can enforce. Mentorship is going both ways. No,
and it's altruism. This I can tell you from my angle. In order to be a mentor of somebody, it's always a product of being altruistic. Because as a mentor, it's something you give. Without asking anything in return, and that's what he did with me and with all the others. And
I never felt basically like a mentor. It's just people that I like. I'm starting to work with. It's not about mentorship or like clinical education or sometimes you meet people, you think they're nice people first of all, and then if they are still good clinicians and you can give and take. There's nothing that I can say that I on purpose I did. It came like it is.
Yeah. No. What I hear often is that they describe you as someone that gives all his knowledge, without any limitations. And I think that's the altruism that you described. That you have the willingness also to share all your expertise, all the mistakes, all your experience you accumulated over the years, and I think that's a very
but also to share the friendship.
The friendship, yes.
I cannot stress it enough.
Yeah, and I agree. I know what you mean, Eric. It's in a mentoring role, the mentor learns often as much as the mentee, because it makes you reflect on what you do, which you probably didn't reflect before someone asked you, right?
I think for the moment I learn more from them than they learn from me.
Yeah, that's good.
Because it's the same thing. It's cyclic, no?
Yeah.
I'm 66 now, so I have the experience, but they have much more knowledge about technologies, about these kind of things. So I try to adapt. That's it.
Yeah, cool. So we spoke a lot about also vision and the future. So I have to ask you guys as well, if you look into the future of dentistry, what's the next frontier that is ahead of us?
I think personally robotics.
Robotics, okay.
Yes.
In which field? Surgical, restorative, all
restorative,
of it?
surgical. Maybe Florin won't agree, but I think when I was looking at your lecture where you showed the 2 lines, I think we need to try to define a study like the robot doing it or on a model or the dentist doing it according to a design to make the prep. The robot will always do it better than the hand of the dentist, especially after 7 hours or 24 hours.
He will not be tired, that's for sure. And he has no bad Mondays.
And precision is just a question of time again. It's like the milling machines 20 years ago or 10 years ago were not as performant as they are now, not as precise as they are now. But maybe Florin doesn't agree. I don't know. What is your vision?
No, I do agree. I'm just going to try to phrase it a bit
better.
Not better, but different. Okay. It's so if you look at, let's say, CAD CAM, okay, then you have the CAD, which is the design where obviously there will just be layers and layers of automation with, more and more AI infused into it. And that, I think it's a good thing, because it will, again, give back the time investment of all these years of all the people that went into digital, because we have to understand that there was a certain point where the investment of time for a dentist was ridiculous for digital to do everything. It's just, you're not a dentist anymore. So I think that is going to happen. Second, I can see already that there is a significant shift in the lab side on the printing. So I see that basically the only thing that's gating printing to take over is materials. So once the materials are enabled, I see that the lab will shift from reductive to additive. And the other thing is the logical thing, what will happen to CAD/CAM and to reductive, it will shift to robotics naturally because, you know, that's how I see at least a logical evolution of things. AI will be a layer that will infuse everything. Lab will go more to additive, and the reductive will convert to robotics gradually. First assisted probably because there will be again a huge cultural barrier, but eventually it will go further. I think it's inevitable.
Yeah, I think I agree. Robotics will be a big topic, and people are scared naturally today by it. But it will not change dentistry in 2 years from now. It will be a longer journey, but it starts now, and it's a bit like, you know, when we saw the first intraoral scanners coming to the market in 2007, 8, 9. They're not the same like today, and it took us now almost 20 years to arrive at the point with intraoral scanners where we are. So I think we also need to give this field a bit of time.
Yeah.
But there's a big difference between what was in 2007 and now, because the speed of the acceleration of things is much faster.
Yes.
I think with the AI,
I fully agree. I mean, this development will probably just take a third of the time, not the same time.
And it will actually be less R&D and more cultural barrier and regulatory barrier than actual development, probably.
Yeah, you experienced it now. I think the regulatory barrier and the let's say the barrier of European community of all these check and double check and
it's gonna be tough on robotics for sure.
Bureaucratics, or it will be the barrier for robotics also.
So again, me being a young dentist opening his own practice, what would you tell me what to focus on for? Where is the blue ocean big future opportunity in dentistry? Because I feel it's actually a super exciting time to be in dentistry right now. Right?
It is.
So what would you recommend me to focus on?
Florin?
First, I would repeat myself, but I will tell you first, document whatever you're going to do. And the second thing is, find the one thing that you like.
Yes, I think.
Because the one thing that you like, you will naturally be good at, and that will spiral in your favor. I mean, don't go against, it's very important early in the career to get a win, mentally, psychologically. You know, to start with something that you have like a runway, because then you can shift. Once, I think the first thing that you need to learn as a young dentist is how to win. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Just to get a few wins, because once you get a few wins, you get more energy in your tank, and then your dreams become bigger, and then you can grow and grow and grow. But yeah, first document, because if you don't document, you will have a career probably thinking that you're much better than you really are, which is not healthy. And second, just find the easier wins first. That's what I would suggest.
I would also suggest not to focus on money only.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
what I see.
That's a very nice
sometimes,
recommendation.
Yes.
Yeah. And I agree. You know, passion and not money is the focus, and confidence comes from doing and from succeeding, right?
Yeah.
I think this is where you build confidence, and documentation is probably the key for progress and for learning, because it will also show you
your mistakes.
Your mistakes, right? And if you don't document, you don't see mistakes, right?
It's sometimes a very humbling experience to see your own cases that you did 10 years ago.
Speaking about humbling experiences, what makes you guys still nervous today if you have a patient? I mean, you're so experienced. Is there still any situation that makes you nervous?
Yes, the patient that should rather go to the psychiatrist than to the dentist.
Okay.
Yes, that's the typical patient I really don't want to treat.
Okay.
Otherwise, technically, I think we are so evolved that we can solve many things. But the psychic patients, that's the ones you need to avoid.
Because it's out of your control, yeah?
Completely out of control, yes.
Yeah, I agree.
And the patients probably, because we are talking about aesthetic dentistry, the ones with the huge lip fillers and the Botox stuff, and that's also, for me, a no-go sometimes.
Yeah. Now I ask you guys a lot of questions, and I could continue asking, but we always want to give also the guests the opportunity to ask a question to us, to Straumann, if a question that you always wanted to ask.
Florin?
Papa, you go first.
I think my question is simple because I was just talking about it. Where is Straumann when it comes to robotics now? What?
That's a very good question. I mean, you know that we are invested in, or we launched a dynamic navigation system, which per se is not robotics, but it's kind of a step between static navigation and robotics. Yes. I would say it's probably fair to say. And yes, I mean we are very interested in this field. We observe this from a technology perspective. We look into a lot of companies, startups, have a lot of conversation with experts. So it's a field that we are very interested in.
Okay.
And we have the motivation also to help develop this field, and also help develop it in the right direction. What we always are mindful about is that we are not making, clinicians that are not experienced and that are maybe not reflected. Mm-hmm. make them great clinicians just by technology, but have technology that makes great clinicians more efficient and helps great clinicians to be.
I think that's a good
clinicians.
Point of view.
Yeah.
Florin?
What do you see right now as as a challenge in the current reality? I mean, in the current landscape of economical turmoil that is happening and all of that. What is?
Oh, that's a very good question. Actually, there's a lot of uncertainty at the moment.
Yeah, that's the problem. How do you navigate uncertainty? Basically, that's even more difficult question.
How we navigate uncertainty. I mean, the first thing, it's like similar what you said. So first, by transparency and understanding, where is the uncertainty coming from? Mm-hmm. Because at the end, you also need to bring it down to the root causes, and it helps you to understand probably how long this will be a topic. Like we see uncertainty at the moment in China, we see uncertainty in the US, Ukraine, and so on. So to really understand based on data. And then, also have some scenarios, how this will play out, and take a cautious approach. And what we do a lot today, I mean, we have to say a bit globalization is a bit over. We also have to hedge our risks, as an example, by having different manufacturing sites. Mm-hmm. It's the easiest example, different manufacturing sites in place in case something happens in the US, Brazil, China, Switzerland, you will always have, let's
backup,
say, a backup, and I think that makes you much less vulnerable. If you have all your bags in one basket, now you see it with the tariffs. We are very happy to have, as an example, a production manufacturing site in the US that makes us not at all vulnerable mm-hmm. to the tariffs, and I think that's and we need to keep agile. I think the key thing that I see is that we need to also make sure we are agile. And we talk a lot to our people because they feel this uncertainty as well, and we need to also give them the feeling that, it's going in a good direction, we have it under control, and it's just problems that we have to solve. In a way, it's a very good question.
Very good answer also.
Yes.
Thank you, guys. So,
thank you.
Thanks a lot. I've learned a lot today. I've learned that, great clinicians are often also, great and grounded people that have a high aspiration and a sense for perfection, and they go the extra mile. That's what I see with you. I think this sense for precision, that there's no shortcut to it. And I learned, documentation is important based on data and starting with the end in mind, and surrounding yourself with a good team that can deliver to this. So. Thanks a lot for sharing all your thoughts, the backgrounds, the visions, and the future. That's going to be a very interesting topic, robotics. So thanks, Erik, for being here, and thanks, Florin, also for being here.
Thank you for having us. Thank you.
And to the listeners, thanks for listening into this episode. I hope you found it as inspirational as I found it. Look out for new episodes, and as usual, happy to interact with you. Best done on our Instagram account, Straumann Global. Please drop us a direct message on questions, ideas, critique, ideas that you have, and always happy to answer those, and look out for the next episode. So thanks a lot for listening in.